extending the idea of heat capacity, we have something called as water equivalent. So let me explain this way. Say I have an object. It can be of any mass, and this is at x degrees Celsius, and I'm trying to raise it to x plus 1 degree Celsius, and I'm doing this by supplying heat, right? I'm supplying heat, I'm heating it up, and this results in rise in temperature, which is 1 degree Celsius. Now, this amount, so this is some white joules, this amount. If I use the same amount, right, same thing, if I take it, and basically, if I do this, but in this case, here, this is a random object. But in this case here, it has to be water. And this has to be at x degree Celsius. And post supply of all of this, I end up with x plus 1 degree Celsius. So here, what is that we are controlling? I mean, I have pretty much told everything. This is same. Forget about the left hand side. Left hand side is fixed. You can't do anything about it. Here, right hand side, you're taking water, that is fixed. You're supplying it with certain heat, that is fixed. Temperature is fixed. But what is flexible over here? What can I change? Is something about water? Yes. The amount of water, the mass of water. So I have the control of this. So I can manipulate the amount of water. See to that for this particular amount of heat, I'll be able to raise the temperature from x degree Celsius to x plus 1 degree Celsius. So this amount of water is what is called as water equivalent. I mean, the name is a bit weird for me also, because it's random, water equivalent. At least heat should have been there, So it's just water equivalent. Maybe it's there. You guys can check that out, guys. I didn't do that bit of research. But yeah, this kind of stuck in my head. The name is incomplete. But maybe there is a better name. I didn't do the research. You guys can try that. So let me explain all of this again. You have a material. You are increasing the temperature from x degree Celsius to x plus 1. For a given mass. Any given mass. It's not per kg. It's any mass. It is to do with your heat capacity. This is to do with heat capacity of an object. Now, this is to do with purely with water. So this amount of heat is carried over here, and you have seen to that you keep the temperature at x degree Celsius. You provide this heat, and you have to see to that it raises the temperature by 1 degree Celsius, not less, not more. By manipulating the amount of water, you'll be able to achieve this. That amount of value per se is your water equivalent. That's it. Okay. So that's the idea. Let's read through. So basic idea is that it's a way of talking about heat capacity of an object in terms of an equal mass of water. In other words, it tells you how much kilogram of water would absorb the same amount of heat as the object for the same rise in temperature. So I compare it to refractive index. You remember refractive index? And then you have relative refractive index. This is to do with science chapter. Sorry, not science. Of course, it's science. But it is specifically to do with light. Bending of light. So relative refractive index is comparing the refractive index of a given object with that of the water. You remember? So it's similar to that, similar to the ideas. So idea here is that use of water. So why do we end up with using water? Because again, go back to the same reason. Water is important for us. It's something that we understand and we use day in, day out. Of course, we don't understand it completely, but yeah, we're used to it. If we talk about water, every person on the surface of the earth can understand water. So water equivalent of an object is the mass of the water that would require the same amount of heat as the body for the same temperature rise. That's the official definition. In terms of formula, apparently represented with capital W. Again, I have no clue why we are going with this without any subscript. Maybe it's there. Maybe this is, I took it from some book. Okay. So we have MC by CW. That is, this is your mass of the object. C is your specific heat capacity. And CW is a specific heat capacity of water. Where is it? Oh, yeah, it's here. Specific heat capacity of water. And capital C is your heat capacity of the object, so on and so forth. Sorry, it might be a bit confusing over there. So basically, if I know the heat capacity of the entire object, if I divide that with specific heat capacity of the water, that will give us water equivalent. Or if you expand C, that will be MC of the object, small c, sorry. This is to do with specific heat capacity. This is to do with object itself. But this is not specific. This is heat capacity. And you have this to be, yeah, that's your formula. So obviously the SI unit is what? Yes, kg. We're talking about amount, right? So water equivalent in kg and so on and so forth. So why use water equivalent? It's common in calorimetry. This is a topic, calorimetry. Allows easy comparison with water, right? And yeah, this is a summary. So we spoke about heat and rise in temperature and all of that. So to measure heat, we have something called as heat capacity, to discuss heat basically. And you have molar heat capacity and specific heat capacity. The water equivalent, that is the equivalent mass for the same rise in temperature, is your water equivalent concept. And that would be your ways of measuring heat. I think I'll show this first.